Вітаю всіх на сьогоднішньому вебінарі щодо проходження частини читання на іспиті IELTS. І сьогодні ми розберемо з вами всі деталі та тонкощі, щоб бути експертами в цьому питанні. І з вами сьогодні буду я, Едіта, старша викладачка мережі шкіл Green Country English School, також авторка навчальних матеріалів by Green Country і маю досвід викладання більше 4 років. І в нас буде вебінар на англійській мові, тому I'll switch to English now. I will also want to say that I'm reading the chat, so can you write plus in the chat if you can hear me well, please? Okay, thank you so much. So I guess we can start by our agenda. We have a lot of things to discuss. So the first, we are going to mention some basic information that you need to be acquainted with. After, we'll talk about reading skills that would be tested. Then we'll mention some updates for 2026. Trust me, they are worth discussing. After, we'll talk about some reading strategies that we can master. Then about the preparation itself, and of course, on-the-day tips for your success. And I guess we can kick off by talking about the format, and I'll need your help right now. Could you tell me, please, how many sections do we have in reading part? Can you write the number in the chat? And you're right, we have got 3 sections. And as you know, each section will have its own difficulty. So as always, we're going to move from the easiest, the first part, to the hardest, the third part of reading. And also, I've got one more question to you. What do you think? How much time does it take you to complete reading part? Write the number in the chat. All right, it would take you 60 minutes to complete this part for 3 sections. And if we talk about text type, we need to mention that these 3 sections would contain one long text. Basically, it's taken from real publications, such as books, newspapers, journals, or some magazines. It can be any type of it, but you need to remember one thing. The number of words would be approximately the same, 2,000 plus words. If we talk about the questions, I would like to ask you one more, yeah? So how many questions are waiting for you in reading part? 30, 40, maybe 50? Write in the chat. Okay, and you're completely right. You'll have 40 questions for 3 sections. And they can vary. Yeah, as we see, there would be different types of them, and we are going to break down into details a bit later. And I would like you to pay attention to all of the types that are waiting for you. Don't be overwhelmed by the quantity, yeah? It may seem a bit hard at the first sight, but when we talk about them in details, you will get that it will be easy peasy for you to come through it. So I guess we can start with the first type, yeah? Matching headings. The main aim is to test if you're able to understand the main idea of each paragraph. So you're basically given the text, and it can be the only task where you can have the question itself before the passage, because they will test your ability to scan the information quickly, yeah, and then due to key vocabulary, find the right heading. Here on the right, you can see the example of the task. Yes, as you see, you have more headings than the sections in the text. It will be always like this, 2 or 3 more headings, of course, to confuse you. That's why we pay attention to synonyms in order to highlight the main words that could be used in our future heading. And what problems can wait for you here? As we discussed, more headings and paragraphs. Then some headings can be very similar in meaning. If we look at these ones, we have I, the probable effects of the new international trade, and in Y, we have the effects of government policy. So the word effect can confuse you if you don't read the text attentively. And also, it's easy to confuse specific details. Yeah, the main idea can be very different in each paragraph. And it's easy to spend too much time for this type of question. You may be confused and you can spend 5 or more minutes on this one. But mastering the strategies, we can omit it. When we talk about the second type, it would be multiple choice. And here it's getting interesting because the main aim is to understand the main idea of each paragraph, yeah? You will scan for specific information and you would use detailed reading, yes, to choose between several possible answers. Here you can see the example of type of multiple choice question, because we have 3 types of them. And the first one is when you need to choose only one answer from 4 choices, A, B, C, or D. Mostly you will be asked the question, or there would be the statement that you would need to complete. Then the second type would be when you need to select 2 answers from 6 options. Here it can be a bit overwhelming because you may be confused. Yeah, so 4 of them would be unnecessary for you. But key words that you may find in the answers may help you to spot the correct one fast. And the last type would be when you need to choose 3 answers out of 7 listed options. As you can see in this example, we have one question. What 3 items are you recommended to take with you to the spa? And then we have a list of words. They would always highlight the word 3, 1, or 2 for you not to omit the correct number of answers. If we move further, let's talk about this type of question. It would be short answer. These actually aim to identify keywords and to test your ability to scan for specific information. As you see, there is the text, like a part of it, and here we can see the questions. We have 4 of them, and all of them would be connected to paragraphs there. Yep. And what we need to pay attention to, no more than 3 words or a number. If we miss this information, we may get 0 points. For example, question 1, what is the African rhinoceros compared to? If you write 4 words in this answer, it would be considered incorrect because the task says you need to write 3 words. Let's move to name matching. Here you are going to scan the text for names, for some synonyms, and of course you will use context to guess meanings. So for name matching questions, you have to match a list of people's names to a list of statements using the information in the text, of course. And the names, they would normally be of some researchers, experts, scientists, people who made some considerable accomplishment, yeah? And the statements would be normally on research findings, some theories, maybe places, or about some historical events. Let us have a look at the task itself. Here we can see questions 14, 17, and there we can see statements, yeah, 4 of them. And we have a list of researchers, only 3. All of them would be mentioned in the text. So that's why spotting the proper name, for example, we have Mark Van Dam. If you spot it quickly in your reading passage, it will be easier for you to find information in the right paragraph. For example, it would be in paragraph C, so automatically you would miss paragraph A and B because you don't need it for this type of task. Yeah? Moving on, we have true, false, and not given. And now you may have a lot of questions like, okay, I'm familiar with that. This is one of the hardest tasks that it may be in the test. You are right partially, I would say, because here you will be given a set of statements and a text, yeah? And your task would be to decide which of the following implies to information in the statement. What can be confusing at the first glance? First, we have true, false, and not given. Now, if we think about not given, it's something that is not mentioned in the text. And this is the point where a lot of students can get confused because we have false statement which disagrees with the statement or contradicts it. And sometimes when students are reading the passage, they may spot some similar information and they will say, okay, it's false, but maybe there could be only the part of the statement. Let's look at the statement here. Your rider identity card will be sent to you before the event. In the text, you may find the verb sent, yeah, and ride identity card, but nothing would be mentioned about the event or before the event. So logically, it would be not given. You would choose false if they would write after the meeting. Yeah, it would be considered false. So that's why mastering the strategies to differentiate between false and not given would help you a lot by completing this task. And here goes yes, no, and not given. Some of you may think, aren't they the same? And they're not. You'll be given a set of statements again and a text, and your task would be to decide which of the following implies to information. Here we can see the example. Yep, it's pretty similar. We can see 4 statements, and then we need to choose yes, no, and not given. But if we look at this point, we can see if the statement agrees with the views of the writer. So that's not about facts that you're going to find out in the text. It's more about what the writer thinks and states in the passages. That's what we're going to focus on. We don't focus on our opinions, but only on writers and what he or she thinks. And now I would like you to discuss what is the difference between true, false, and not given. I'll give you 2 definitions, and can you write in the chat? The first definition is about yes, no, and not given, or true, false, or not given task. Can you write in the chat, please? The first definition says, the text will contain the opinions, views, or beliefs of the writer or other people who are mentioned. So this is about Yes, no, not given, or true, false, not given. All right. So the first one is about yes, no, and not given. Yeah. And the second, when we have factual information about the topic, would be true, false, and not given. Understanding that you already, came through 50% of your path in understanding these types of tasks. Let's go on to the next one, summary completion. Here, our main goal, is to skim the summary for general meaning, scan the text, find some specific information, and of course, make some predictions. What is summary? It's basically a short, clear description that gives the main facts or ideas about something. And for summary completion questions, you will be given the text first, with the paragraphs, and a summary of information from a section of the text with some gaps. And there would be some words missing. And your task would be, through the context, find the appropriate word. Let's have a look. Here we have the first type of task, when you need to fill in the gaps with words from the word list. As you see, there's the word list. Of course, there would be more words than required. So here we have 4 gaps, but they're basically 7 words. So 3 of them would be extra. And they can be the other type. Fill in the gaps with words from the text. It's a bit harder, because you need to spot the words in the sentences. And of course, there would be synonyms, paraphrases, so you can get easily confused. But here we pay attention to one thing: no more than 2 words. So basically, you focus on 1 or 2 words in each gap. Yep. Let us move further. Let's talk about matching sentence endings. Here we will scan for keywords. We will use some grammatical structures in order to recognize the exact words, and we'll identify some synonyms. And you'll have instructions that will contain 2 lists. A list of incomplete sentences, here you have from 18 to 21, and a list of possible sentence endings. So what do we need to focus on here? First, this is an interesting point made, that everywhere we have a modal verb may. It may help us, actually, to identify the correct answer. After we focus on some keywords, for example, in 18s, we have nutrients, and then we have harvested crops. So we may find this information in the text, and after we will choose the sentence ending. And as always, we have something extra, So again, there would be 2 extra endings, and we need to keep track of it. You may even use this technique. You may look at the extract, you see that it is not suitable for anything. You can just cross it out and forget about it and work with others. It's also a great strategy. Let us look at 9, and it would be sentence completion. He will identify some synonyms and understand paraphrasing in details. So you'll be given a set of 4 or 5 sentences with gaps in them. Let's have a look. And you're required to fill in the gaps with appropriate words to complete the meaning of the sentence. And here we have again, choose 1 word only. Actually, I find this type of task like the easiest one when you have only 1 word, because it doesn't confuse you as much as 2 or 3 words, Sometimes we can question, do I need to write this adjective near noun or no? But here you won't have such doubts. But still, we pay attention to key vocabulary. I would like you to find an answer for the first one. You will help me a bit. Let's read the 21st sentence. An indirect interest may occur when an employee's actions affect a company in which he/she owns. And here in this passage, there is the answer. Let us find it. I'll give you 30 seconds to try to find this answer and write in the chat, and then we'll discuss it, all right? Please. You remember about one word only, yeah? I'll give you a little hint. Maybe it will help you. So we have owns and acquire. These are synonyms. So the answer would be shares. We would write the word shares here. Owns, shares. So spotting such synonyms would help you to identify the correct answer easier and much faster. Let us move to next one, matching paragraphs. Here we'll scheme, for general meaning and also for specific information. What would we have? We'll have a set of 3 to 6 statements, and you'll be required to match the information in each statement to matching information in a paragraph. So here you would have different types of information, and they can vary widely. For example, facts, definitions, opinions, explanations, challenges, descriptions or predictions, and even reasons. Let's have a look how it may seem. So the answers will not come in the same order in the text. This is the downside of such activity. And some paragraphs may not contain an answer. So you may just omit them and then move to the next one. And one paragraph even can contain more than one answer, which candidates find the most confusing part. For example, here we have 9 paragraphs. And then we need to write the correct letter in the boxes from 1 to 3. So basically 6 paragraphs, they would be just unnecessary, but you need to find somehow, And then we remember we have time limitations. That's why the first thing we start with is underlining the keywords that may help us to find the right paragraph. And after we decide. Let's talk about one more thing, table or flowchart completion. Here we'll scan for some specific information and we'll read in detail to find answers. Let's have a look at the table example and also flowchart. As you see, the thing in common is writing down the words. No more than 2, no more than 2. Sometimes it can be no more than 1 or no more than 3. The main thing is, again, to scan the text for information and find details. What can be a tip for you? You need to use any little cues that are present in the table to help you understand the type of information. So the first thing we do, we analyze what is given to us, because we have actually a lot of help here, So for example, here we have column headings such as test and findings. We can see in example 1. And also we can see words in bold, such as theory 1, theory 2, in example 2. Here we have them. So this is the first thing we pay attention to, and after we differentiate. Okay, let's start reading paragraphs and find this info. And then you follow along. And last task, diagram labeling. We need to interpret a diagram. Here, we need to be extra attentive because first we have visual information that may be very helpful to us, yeah? But at the same time, it can be a bit confusing, yeah? So the diagram will be one of the following. There can be a design or a plan of something, technical drawing, maybe a machine or maybe invention of something, or a diagram from the natural world. And in this particular question, there is a list of words with which to label a diagram. You may not be an expert in the sphere of machine manufacturing, but you will have a text. And in the text, you will have specific terms that you may need to use for this task. So the information needed to label will be definitely in the text. And of course, it will be connected, yeah, in synonyms and some paraphrases in order to help you. Let's have a look. Here we can see the first diagram, yeah, and here we have label the tunnels on the diagram, dung beetle types. On the first glance, it may seem too hard, but you'll be given the text which will describe this diagram. So by following the stages, you will have a chance to write the correct vocabulary. The second one, we have choose one word only, yeah, and here we have pipes and ducts installed, yes, then we have bracing, and we can see that it's connected with construction. And after discussing all of the question types, we need to mention one more important thing, marking. How would you mark for this reading, yeah, part? As you see, we have a chart of correct answers, yeah? So it means if you've got, for example, 5 mistakes, yeah, you will have academic band score 8. If you have 1 mistake, you will have 9, yeah, like the highest band score. If you have less, yeah, if you have 23 or 26 correct answers, you will have 6 band score, which actually aims at B2 level. So that's how it's counted. So I really recommend you using this marking system for evaluating yourself while you're completing some sample tasks for IELTS. Now let's talk about core reading skills that you will be tested in. Let's mention the first one, reading comprehension. Reading is one thing, yeah, but understanding the text and fully comprehending, understanding, it's another thing. Because the IELTS test is structured in like such way that you'll need to simultaneously, like at the same time, answer questions while reading. And also you need to comprehend the information, yeah. And you as a candidate, you need to digest the ideas and facts that are being shared with you. So it's hard work, basically, for 1 hour. That's why we need to develop the skills in order to feel more confident while taking the actual test. The second one will be skimming. And as you know, you'll have a strict time limit. So having this limit on reading test means that it is impossible to take your time reading leisurely, you know, like enjoying with a cup of tea, yeah, thinking about every word, every unknown word. Unfortunately, we cannot afford it. So you'll need to swiftly skim the information and get the idea of what is the text about. So it involves your fast eye movement in the beginning of the task, and then you need to spot some vocabulary, then you spot some proper names, some numbers, some main information, and only after you come to your tasks, yeah, and continue. Then let's talk about information scanning, and it comes after skimming, yeah? Scanning is a really essential skill that will be tested throughout the test. Because of the time restriction and various locate and answer tasks, you'll need to do a lot of selective scanning. Like selective, yes, look, this information, this from paragraph 1, from 6.1, yeah? And you know what you're looking for, yeah? The hardest part is basically to find it, yeah? So even though, you know, okay, I need to find a noun that will be connected with banking system, but then you need to find it, and here scanning will be in handy. It's basically to look through the information. You can use different strategies. Yeah, reading from left to right, reading from the upper corner to the lower corner. But the main is for you to find everything you need, and in short time period. And then reading for details. Yes, it's also one of the crucial skills, because it's basically what the test assesses. Unlike scanning or skimming, you will need to read in between lines. It can be like matching heading tasks or yes, no, not given when you need writer's opinion. And you need to take in consideration both specific information and entire story, basically. Yes, in order to draw conclusions. And of course, summarizing passages. And when you determine your viewpoints, will require reading for details. So this is mostly used when you have some opinions, yes, points, not factual information mostly, yeah, but this would be in handy too. And let us talk about some updates because they are important and for some can be surprising. Let's start with one thing, which I call trap change. Normally, when you are given the passage, we can see it there, reading passage 1, the easiest, yeah? You have the task, true, false, and not given. Okay, so logically, yeah, by the process of your preparation, you know, okay, I'll need to start scheming first, yeah, to get main idea, and then I can start scanning part. And the answers will come in order. In first paragraph, I have for the first statement, and maybe for the second, and then you go further. After you can see questions 8-13, complete the table. So you already know. It may be after third paragraph, or it can be again from the beginning to the middle. Yes, so you basically can predict where your answers can be. And if we look there in our new updates, what they decided to change. You were given the task, you also have the passage, you answer the questions. For example, you have multiple choice. So you have the first one and you successfully found the answer. The second one you also found. Then you read the third question and oh no, there's no answer in the third paragraph. Okay, I continue reading. Oh, I found the answer in the fourth paragraph for the third statement. Okay, I move on. I have fourth statement, but there is no answer here, and here also is no answer. Oh, and you find it in the seventh paragraph. So what do we see basically? They are writing the answers chaotically. Like it can be in the first paragraph and in the sixth one. Yeah, so it wouldn't come in order as it was always like that. So this is what we need to anticipate and be ready for while we are preparing. So basically the order inside the task is still logical, but the location of answers across the passages is now more complex. So if we think about starting reading, what do you think? Write your answer in our chat. Is it still smarter to start with the questions first? Or is it now better to read the passage first and after go to the questions? You can write 1 or 2 number. And after we will discuss it in details. You may share your ideas. Mhm. All right. Personally, I do think that it's better to read the passage first and after look at the questions if it's like the first activity after skimming. But a lot of teachers discuss, they provoke a discussion whether you need to look through questions first and after read the text itself. What I would say, it's up to you what strategy is better. Yeah, it depends on your critical thinking skills and your ability to comprehend the text. If you notice that while practicing, it's easier for you to start with questions, you do it. If it's easier to start with the text and then move to questions, you may also do it. Yeah, the main thing is what works for you and if you actually have success. Yeah, and if you have more correct answers. And one more thing, yeah? So reading the passage first matters more than it used to. So if before teachers thought, you don't need to read passage first we have questions. Now it will matter because if it's like mixed everywhere, we need to know, the structure of the passage and only after move to questions. One more change that is pretty concerning. Some students, while completing a new tasks from a new Cambridge book, they ask the question, Section 2 is harder than Section 3. Is it like that? Let's have a look. Basically, Section 2 normally is more academic and factual. There's tougher vocabulary, more scientific concepts, and you need to find more specific information. Whereas Section 3, it's closer to everyday topic, maybe like some societal topic. It's more with more normal vocabulary, Then you can interpret what a writer believes, so it's more focused on its opinion, and you will need to read more for each answer. Basically, the second part should be considered easier than the third one. But what do we see? Section 3 tends to demand more time because the answers depend on the context, and it's still the difficulty for you, people who are limited in time. So from this book, this authentic practice test showed that it also takes a lot of time to complete Section 2 now. That's why students are concerned. But I guess if you practice a lot with different strategies, it won't be a problem for you to manage to keep up with the time. So that's why if we answer this question, it didn't become harder, but just requires more time. One more thing, we have some new question patterns. So as we know, the most common questions are true, false, not given, yes, no, not given, fill in the blanks, and multiple choice. They would always be, maybe in, like you can have multiple choice in 3 texts in a row. But now what we notice in this book, matching headings is less common, but of course it can be used. Matching paragraph is more common, so you'll have more tasks for that, and maybe matching sentence endings is more common. So we should be prepared, actually, to find more information in the context. And one more game changer, one skill retake. If you know, when you are taking IELTS, you have 4 sections, and when you get your results is counted as an average, from 4 sections. Now, if a candidate falls short in one module, for example, writing or reading, you can now retake only that specific section within 60 days. For example, you have 6.5 for reading, 7.0 for listening, 7.0 for speaking, and then you have 5.0 for writing. And oh no, that's not fair. Maybe you worried a lot. Who knows? And you want to get a higher mark. You can do it. But of course, they're always but. It's only available at certain test centers in certain countries. This feature is exclusive only to computer-delivered IELTS, and it's not free. Unfortunately, they can charge you from $200 to $300, depending on your location. But we still need to know it's available to us. Next one is reading strategies that we need to master. So let's run into them. So you know that the IELTS reading test is not only about vocabulary, it's about strategy. timing, and ability to focus. So the first thing for you is to understand the structure of the test. What do we know? 3 passages, 40 questions, 60 minutes of time. And one more thing for you to remember, you will have no extra time after finishing to transfer your answers. So basically you have only 1 hour to find answer, to transfer this answer to the answer sheet, and then you will finish your test. Because in listening part, you may have some time in the end to write your answers from like a normal, paper sheet to an answer. But here we don't have it. That's why we manage our time properly. Then we need to focus on this. Don't read everything in detail. Even if you have a lot of unknown vocabulary, we don't focus on that. We have our strategies, skimming and scanning. In skimming, we focus on titles, headings, repeated words, first and last sentences. In scanning, we look for specific names, dates, numbers, and everything that would be useful to complete our tasks. In terms of strategies, we will have a keyword strategy. What does it mean? The first step you have when you got a question is to underline the keyword. Think of synonyms because, IELTS loves the paraphrasing. They adore it. And of course, you need to scan the text for similar meanings. Let's look at example. We have a question. Why did the company expand internationally? And the text says, the firm decided to enter overseas markets due to rapid domestic saturation. Now your brain may explode. What are they talking about? There is nothing similar, but if we look at expand internationally, we can see enter overseas markets. So overseas markets is in other countries. That's what they meant, and it would be the right answer here. And we also learn question types separately. For example, you take multiple choice only, and you focus on how to complete it successfully. Eliminate wrong answers first, as I've mentioned before. Like this one is not appropriate. Okay, cross it out. Then move to next one. And you watch for distractors. So there are some answers, they may look correct, but they aren't. They're just here to confuse you. That's why we cross out anything we don't need. After all, how to prepare for IELTS? Let's break it down. I would like you to look at these main tips for you that would be very useful. First, timing. We know it's our key and we learn how to manage it. After all, we read instructions very carefully. Remember filling the gaps? Only 2 words. If you miss it and you write 3 words, unfortunately, we can get a 0 point. Then we don't panic. It's not the end of the world. We're here to show our knowledge and we are ready for any outcome. And we need to understand that it's a really vocabulary test. Because they would use a lot of synonyms and you will have to practice a wide range of vocabulary. Then you need to not expect to understand every word. It's not the main aim for you. You can forget about it. You focus on specific information that you need only for tasks. And of course, practice makes it perfect. The more you practice, the more confident you are, the better result you have. Let us look at preparation tips. I would like you to mention one and foremost time management because it's the most crucial part. Let's look on the right. Actually, official IELTS exam recommends us to have 20 minutes for each section. But due to candidates' responses and of course to teachers' discoveries, recommended timing is spending 15 or 17 minutes on passage 1, 20 minutes on passage 2, and 23 or better 25 minutes on passage 3. Because you remember, the third one is not on a scientific topic, but still you will focus more on writer's opinion here. And that's why we need more time for that. So we remember that if the question is too difficult, you can skip it and move on and then come back later. So never spend 5 minutes on one question because then you will lose your time for others. So it's better for you to guess the answer even if you're not sure in it, but not miss it. We never miss. Maybe you can guess it. Who knows? So you remember that too. Then we need to practice under real conditions. So when you're even at home or with your teacher, you set a timer, you do full practice test, for example, reading, and you analyze your mistakes. Remember, improvement comes from analysis, but not just practice. This is our main focus. After all, you need to build smart reading skills, as we mentioned, skimming and scanning. Goal in skimming, understand the big picture. Goal in scanning is understand okay, not every, but almost every detail of the picture, yeah? After all, we improve our academic vocabulary, and here we need some sources. So academic texts, they often include some research studies, historical analysis, scientific explanations, or social trends. So I would really recommend you focusing on such websites like National Geographic, BBC Science, and The Guardian. Actually, they basically take their articles from these websites or these magazines. So if you indulge yourself in these pieces, yes, of news or just magazines, you will be aware what is waiting for you, and also you will know what the structure is. So while reading, you need to focus on linking words, vocabulary, and data description language, because you are more likely to come across it on your exam. For example, I remember the student said that he was just reading the article in National Geographic about bacteria and how they're evolving, and then he got this text on IELTS itself. He was surprised, basically. But it is what it is. It's actually proven. So we have the chance to use this strategy too. And we can also remember about the practice tests. Of course, you need to have real life experience, so that's why you can use some official IELTS practice tests on these websites and analyze your answers. And of course, you may also use some unofficial IELTS practice tests. I wouldn't say that they're like less, like they're worse or something like that. Of course, official, they're proved, yeah, but these are not worse, I would say. Yeah, for example, best my test, you basically can click to complete the test and you will have like almost the version of your online IELTS test. Why not? And with timing, I guess it's a very great opportunity for you to practice. So what we have, to-do list after practice test. We analyze every mistake, check why your answer was wrong, identify a trap. Why was that? Write down your vocabulary and note some paraphrasing patterns. And in future, you will make less mistakes like that. And let's talk about on-the-day tips for success. It's basically when you're already taking IELTS, yeah? The day of the exam. First, you need to arrive early. Yeah, as mostly all of you will be abroad, you need to be aware of the location where the exam will take place. So we take it into consideration. After, you're not allowed to have a phone, so you should be prepared for that and not take it with you to the room. After all, bring a pen. Actually, it's a new update for 2026 because before the students were allowed to have a pencil for their paper-based IELTS test, but now you'll need to bring a pen or you'll be given a pen in some centers. After your ID, of course, it's the first thing that you will need to show on your exam. So we also are aware of it. Then we listen to instructions very carefully. Yeah, examiners will always help you. Remember, their aim is to help you, not downgrade you or to make you even more nervous. No, we listen carefully and we try to stay focused because your test will take 2 hours 40 minutes and you won't have a break even for a toilet. So also think about it beforehand in order to be aware of all the details, yeah. Then you'll have a clock. If you write paper-based IELTS, you'll have a clock in your room. So when you enter, you need to spot the clock and then you'll need to keep time of it. If it's computer version, of course, it's easier because you'll have the clock in your computer. So we use it all the time. And the main advice, be calm and focused. Yes, this is the the most successful hint that will help you. I know it's easy to say, but hard to do, but still, we need to make everything to make it happen. Yeah. And last thing, the right steps will always lead you to success. So our task is never giving up because we are not doing it that easy. Yeah. So even if you struggle, remember, struggle is the part of the process. And after struggle comes the victory. That's why we aim for success and we do the right steps. Yeah. And you can do the right steps with us. Yeah. You can prepare to IELTS. We have experienced teachers. You can be in a group or individually. And of course, we have the personalized approach to every student. And for those who were in our webinar, you can have additional discount in 10%. So you can see that our new IELTS start is very soon. So we're waiting for you. You can scan QR code and you can ask for questions for all the details there. And now I'm welcome to listen to your questions. If you have any questions, please write them in the chat. Okay, I can see no questions there. So I hope everything was understandable and you enjoyed gaining some new experience and new pieces of information. So I'm so happy that you were with us. Have a nice day and we'll see you soon on our next webinars and on our course. Bye-bye.